All right, today we're jumping right into the world of competitive marketing strategy. And let me tell you, it's not just about having a great product. It's a full-on, high-stakes game of offense, defense, and some really clever maneuvering. So that really brings up the big question, right? Every market out there is basically a battlefield for customers and their money. So how do you win? Well, the answer has everything to do with where you stand on that battlefield to begin with. To get a handle on this, you gotta know who's who. In pretty much any market, you've got your market leader. This is the big dog holding maybe 40% of the pie. Right on their tail is the market challenger, always trying to knock them off the top spot. Then you've got the market follower, who's usually playing it a bit safer, adapting instead of attacking. And finally, you have the market nichers. These guys are smart. They thrive by becoming the kings of one tiny specific corner of the market. Okay, let's kick things off with the main event, the heavyweight bout, the constant battle between number one and number two. This is where the real fireworks happen. So the whole dynamic here is actually pretty straightforward. You've got the market leader, the one with the biggest slice of the pie, and their main job is to keep it that way. They're the ones setting the pace, leading on price changes, new products, all that stuff. The market challenger, on the other hand, their whole identity is built around being aggressive. Their one goal is to attack the competition, especially the leader, and steal that precious market share. So if you're sitting in that top spot, you've basically got two main jobs. Job number one, defend your territory like it's a fortress. And job number two, find ways to make the entire market bigger. Why? Because, hey, when the whole pie grows, the person with the biggest slice usually gets the biggest new piece. Now, defending that fortress isn't simple. It takes a whole playbook of strategies, 6 of them to be exact. You've got position defense, which is all about owning a single idea in your customer's mind. Think about how Tide just owns the word clean. Then there's flank defense, where you protect your weak spots. A preemptive defense is when you strike before your rival even gets a chance to move. If you do get attacked, you hit back with a counteroffensive. Mobile defense is about expanding into new areas to keep the challenger off balance. And believe it or not, there's even a contraction defense, where you actually pull back from weaker areas to focus your strength where it really matters. And that counteroffensive, man, it's one of the gutsiest moves a leader can make. Check this out. UPS was the undisputed king of ground delivery, right? When they decided to jump into FedEx's territory, air delivery, FedEx didn't just sit back and defend. Nope, they went right on the attack. They launched FedEx Ground to go head-to-head with UPS on their home turf. It was just a brilliant, brilliant move, turning defense into a powerful offense. Okay, let's flip the script and look at it from the challenger's point of view. For them, life is all about offense. But you can't just run in swinging blindly. A smart challenger has to make 2 huge decisions. First, who are you going to attack? The leader, another firm your size, or maybe some of the smaller, easier targets? And second, how are you going to do it? And one of the absolute smartest ways to attack is what's called the bypass. Instead of getting into a bloody head-on fight with Coca-Cola in the Cola Wars, PepsiCo did something genius. They just went around them. They bought Tropicana to win the orange juice market. They snapped up Quaker Oats to get Gatorade. They'd built a massive snack empire with Lay's. See what they did? They didn't try to win the one war, they just changed the whole battlefield. But hey, it's not all about the 2 big guys at the top. The followers and the nichers, they have their own incredibly clever ways to compete, often by just staying out of the main fight entirely. The real difference here comes down to mindset. A market follower is all about playing it safe. They let the leader do all the heavy lifting, spend all the R&D money, and then they just copy or adapt the product. They want to avoid a fight at all costs. A market nicher also wants to avoid a big fight, but they do it in a totally different way. Their goal is to become the absolute undisputed champion of a tiny specialized market that the big players don't even care about. And following isn't just one thing. There are different flavors of it. At one end, you have the counterfeiter, who's just illegally ripping everything off. Then there's the cloner. Think of store-brand cereals that look just like the major brands. An imitator copies some stuff but changes other things. Maybe they compete on price. But the most sophisticated one is the adapter. They actually take what the leader made and make it better. And sometimes that adapter ends up becoming the next big challenger. Zippo is such a great example of just how powerful a nicher can be. Think about it. Their main market, cigarette lighters, was shrinking fast. So what they do? They reinvented themselves by creating a brand new niche. They went from being just a lighter company to being the go-to brand for all flame-related products for people who love the outdoors. They didn't fight over a dying market. They created a whole new one that they could completely own. And the beauty of being a nicher is just how creative you can get. You can carve out your own little defensible space almost anywhere. You could specialize in one type of customer, a specific city or region, a super narrow product line. Heck, you could build a niche around offering a level of quality or service that nobody else can even touch. All right, now let's add one more crucial layer to all this strategic thinking, the dimension of time. A company's strategy can't just be set in stone because the products themselves have a life story, a life cycle. And this is the classic picture of it, that famous bell curve. It all starts with the introduction phase, where sales are slow and you're probably not making any money. Then, if you're lucky, you hit the growth stage. That's when things take off, with rapid acceptance and profits climbing. After that comes maturity, where sales start to level off because pretty much everyone who wants one has one. And finally, you have decline, where sales and profits, well, they start to fall.
But, and this is so important, that bell curve isn't some law of physics. It's just a common pattern. And because it's just a pattern, the really savvy marketers know you can break it. You can actually manipulate that curve. Here's a perfect case of a company that broke the curve. Trivial Pursuit, by all rights, should have been a one-hit wonder that died in the 1980s. But what did they do? They kept releasing new editions. Star Wars editions, Disney editions, kids versions. Every new box basically creates a new, smaller life cycle. They keep restarting that growth phase over and over, essentially cheating the decline stage. It creates this pattern that marketers call a scalloped curve. Okay, so let's tie these two huge ideas together: your role on the battlefield and the life stage of your product. This is where you put it all together to build your own killer strategic playbook. Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. It connects every life stage to a crystal clear marketing goal. And notice how dramatically that goal shifts. When you're in the introduction stage, it's 100% about creating awareness and getting people to just try the product. During growth, it's an all-out land grab to maximize your market share. By the time you hit maturity, the game is changed. Now it's about defending your turf while squeezing out as much profit as you can. And finally, in decline, it's all about being efficient, cutting costs, and milking the brand for whatever value is left. And that brings it all back to you. Look, understanding these frameworks isn't just some boring business school exercise. It's about taking a hard look at your own market, your own company, maybe even your own career, and asking some tough questions. Are you a leader, a challenger, a follower, or a nicher? And then, looking at where your product or service is in its own life story, what's the single smartest move you can make next?